destroy his empire. They told her she should be grateful a powerful man even looked her way. But when the richest cattle baron in the territory agreed to marry a black woman, everyone underestimated. What she did next didn't just shock him, it rewrote every rule of power, love, and respect. Right finger before this story changes the way you see love and legacy forever. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because stories like this don't just entertain, they transform. When Elijah Whitmore first announced he would marry Naomi Carter, the room went silent in the way it does right before a storm breaks. Elijah was not just wealthy, he was an institution. His cattle stretched farther than the eye could see, his name carried weight in banks, courts, and dining halls, and men twice his age still straightened their backs when he entered a room. He had inherited nothing and built everything, clawing land from drought, debt, and blood-soaked bargains. And now, at 47, with no heir and a legacy hanging in the balance, he had chosen a woman no one expected, a black woman who arrived in town with nothing but quiet confidence and eyes that seemed to measure men the way men measured cattle. Naomi Carter did not beg for attention. She did not lower her gaze. She worked as a schoolteacher on the edge of Whitmore land, educating children no one else bothered to see, and she spoke to Elijah Whitmore as if he were simply another man, not a king in boots. That was the first thing that unsettled him. The second was how quickly rumors spread, that he was desperate, that he wanted to look progressive, that she was lucky, that she knew her place. Naomi heard every whisper, every laugh that stopped when she entered a room, every "good for her" that sounded like pity dressed as praise. But she said nothing, because Naomi Carter had learned long ago that silence can be a weapon sharper than words. Elijah believed he was offering her security, protection, a place at the highest table she'd ever known. He believed gratitude would follow. What he did not know was that Naomi had not said yes because she needed him, she said yes because she had a plan. In the weeks before the wedding, Elijah introduced her to bankers, ranchers, politicians, and wives who smiled tightly and watched closely. Naomi listened. She remembered names. She asked questions no one expected her to ask, about water rights, grazing permits, school funding, labor contracts. Men chuckled at first, then shifted when they realized she understood more than she let on. Elijah noticed it too, a faint discomfort he couldn't explain. On the night before the wedding, Elijah offered Naomi a prenuptial agreement thicker than a Bible, designed to protect his empire. Naomi read every page, then slid it back untouched. "I'll sign," she said calmly, but only after the ceremony. Elijah agreed, relieved. What he didn't realize was that Naomi had already signed something else, deeds, trusts, and community agreements quietly arranged with people Elijah had ignored for decades. The wedding itself was grand, but restrained. When Naomi walked down the aisle, heads turned, not with celebration, but with calculation. She wore no jewels borrowed from Whitmore vaults, only a simple dress and a brooch that had belonged to her grandmother, a woman born into a world that tried to erase her name. When Naomi spoke her vows, her voice did not shake. She promised partnership, honesty, and responsibility, words that echoed uncomfortably in a room full of men who had built power without accountability. After the ceremony, at the reception, Elijah stood to speak, ready to present his wife as a symbol of unity, maybe even charity. But Naomi stood first. She thanked the guests politely. Then calmly announced that effective immediately, she would be assuming oversight of Whitmore educational trusts, labor housing reforms, and land redistribution programs Elijah hadn't known existed. Murmurs spread like fire. Naomi continued, explaining how unused Whitmore land would now host schools, clinics, and shared grazing for small farmers. She cited contracts, dates, signatures, all legal, all binding. Elijah felt the room spin. Later, alone, he demanded answers. Naomi did not raise her voice. She told him she had grown up watching powerful men decide her worth without asking her opinion. She told him she agreed to marry him because she believed power should be shared, not hoarded. She told him love without respect was just another form of ownership, and she would never belong to anyone. Elijah was speechless, not because he had been betrayed, but because for the first time in his life, someone had matched him move for move and done it with grace. In the months that followed, Elijah's world changed. Profits dipped, then stabilized. Communities once hostile became loyal. Children once forgotten learned under roofs funded by Whitmore money with Naomi's vision behind it. Elijah watched his legacy transform from fear to respected. And slowly, painfully, honestly, he learned to listen. Naomi did not seek applause. She worked. She built. She challenged. And when Elijah finally asked her why she stayed, she answered simply, because you learned. The woman they thought would be silent had reshaped an empire. The man who thought he was saving her discovered she had saved him from becoming irrelevant. And history remembered not just the cattle baron who married a black woman, but the woman who turned power into purpose and left him forever changed. If this story moved you, challenged you, or made you think twice about power and love, right finger subscribe now for more unforgettable stories that hit deeper than headlines and stay longer than trends. Because some stories don't just go viral, they stay with you.